Hello guys, you have been very kind providing me with many questions so that I can answer some new ideas about Bronzebeard from Ascension. So today I'll be doing some sort of Q&A with some of the questions that I've seen popping up so far. So let's get straight into it. And here I have the first question. So the first question is, which client should we download to play on Bronzebeard? If you want to play on the live version, you need to download the live client and not the PTR. Even though the PTR is still available for testing and some people are still playing there, but you need the live version. Something that is very nice to do is you can set up everything before even the realm launches. You have a few hours before the launch and you can just go on the PTR, you download which add-ons do you want, you configure the add-ons the way you want them. The WTF folder has all the add-on and configurations for the keybinds and from WoW. Everything is saved there, and then you just copy that into the live realms. Then you need to change the name of the realm and the name of the character, so all those things match, and then your configurations will load up in the live realm. Something a bit different regarding the add-on folder, because the add-on folder from the PTR realm might have Blizzard interface folders, and those folders might have different files on the PTR from the live version. So what you do is you just copy the add-ons, you keep the original Blizzard folders that you had on the live client, and you don't change those from the PTR, because sometimes Ascension might have different patches on both versions of the game. For the second question is, will there be dual spec and how much will it cost? There will be an extra spec tab where you unlock new spec tabs from 2, 3, 4, 5, and what happens is you buy a tome of specialization with the number of the tab that you want. So you can buy the tome for the second one, for the third one, for the fourth, so on. And the way you buy the tome is primarily with gold, and the first one costs 1000 gold, and I think then it gets a little bit cheaper. And you also can buy this tome with honor points from PvP, which will save you 1000 gold. So this is important to keep in mind if you want to do some PvP. I think it's quite expensive to get with honor points, but you still can do it, and it will save you a lot of gold. Another thing that I can comment already about some people which can argue that more than 2 specs it's way too much, but remember that there are many classes that can play 4 specs for PvE. You can pick up a druid or a shaman and play as a tank, play as a melee DPS, play as a range DPS, and play as a healer. All of these just for PvE, even before you start doing PvP. And in PvP you can also play as a range DPS, or you can play as a melee DPS, or you can play as a healer, and you might want different specs. All this that I've said would already leave you with 7 spec tabs if you wanted to do everything on the same character. I've had many friends playing even on one rate experience Wrath of Lich King servers, which they have leveled 3 different druids to play all the variants on the same class. If you want to level 3 times the same class and character just to have different variations and play all those specs, that's so much more work. It's a lot easier to just have everything on the same character. And I think this is the quality of life that Ascension brings by adding all these specialization tabs. On to the next question. Third question, is there an achievement system? It's a very simple one. There is an achievement system. It's quite simple, like it was in Wrath of the Lich King, but it will have the achievements for the older content and many more new achievements related with the specific content from Project Ascension. You might also be able to gain some mounts or some pets and some titles from the achievements. In the character panel we also have a titles tab, so you can manage your titles there. And the character panel, since I'm there, I can talk to you about the character panel, which is very interesting because you can see the mystic enchants that someone has equipped on their character panel. You can see some of their stats, their item level, and their PvE power and PvP power. So instead of relying on a gear score add-on or some random item level add-on, everything like that is built in already into the game. But I must tell you that sometimes looking at those numbers is not very realistic, because the way the gear and itemization works, you can have someone be very good and very powerful because they are able to itemize very well for their class and use specific correct items, and you can have very high item levels but be playing with the wrong items and your class won't feel as powerful, and then that ties up with the talents and the mystic enchants. You also have an equipment manager already. With the equipment manager you can create many gear sets and create as many slots as you want, I believe, and you have a set for PvP, a set for PvE, a set for MDPS, another set for tanking, all that kind of stuff. So it's very neat and easy, you don't need any add-on, that's already built into the Ascension client. And now for the fourth question. I'm trying to read this and it seems to be about the classes. And so if you have any doubts about the classes on Ascension, I've already briefly explained it, but I can explain it a little bit better for you. We will have all the talents originally from the Wrath of the Lich King trees, but they are capped at 60 points, so the way the points are distributed might be a little bit different and a little bit faster, of course, compared to leveling on the old talents, so that you can put a little bit more points a bit faster. Because our max level will be only level 60. This in turn gets you a new thing, which is you won't be able to spread points across as many talent trees as you will do before, because you're not having as many points to spend. And now with the Mystic Enchant system, you can actually get a few of these Mystic Enchants to get talents that you would otherwise need or get from other trees. So the specs are still very familiar, the rotations are still very familiar, and you have a very strong common base. If you have any experience with Wrath of the Lich King, it still feels quite familiar to play, but at the same time it has a new twist. And what happens is, if you're having doubts about which class to play, you can rely a lot on your Wrath of the Lich King experience to have an idea for how every class will feel at first, at least leveling at the start, because we are not sure how the meta at endgame will be. I'm not very deep into that yet, but I can guarantee you that it will be different than what we see on Wrath of the Lich King, and the classes here seem to have been brought together and balanced a little bit more, and there are no classes that are performing way behind that everybody else. So whatever the class you choose, here it's one of those cases where you can really choose something that you enjoy playing, and it's not that difficult at first to level up a character, so even if you end up not being satisfied and you end up rerolling, there are some advantages to that, especially here. Unlike other servers and realms, here you do get some things that work as heirlooms, you do get reputations shared across your realm and account, meaning that you can change from one character to another without having to keep farming the same reputations all over again, like if it was on the Burning Crusade, which was very grindy and very nasty and made the Burning Crusade one of the worst expansions for player retention because nobody was rolling alts. And here, if you want to roll an alt, this is extremely alt friendly, and it can be even encouraged, so you might benefit from that because you explore different zones of the map and you discover new things, and there is so much to discover, and you can even discover new world forged mystic enchants and abilities that you can then send those to your main character, so exploring the world from new characters' perspectives can even also power up your main character. For the fifth question, someone asked me how many people were on the stress test. I heard and read on the Discord some rumors about more than 10k players, or at least 16k players, which it's even hard to believe, but after you see my last screenshots when my PC was melting, there were lots and lots of people. When they were merging the layers and bringing everyone into the same layer, it was hard to look at the image and even distinguish the pixels from each other, because there was just too many people there in the same spot. I'm not sure if it's all hype and it will all die down, but this server feels very nice to play, and so because the experience is so welcoming, you might be inclined to believe that they are attracting a lot of people, and also because the Ascension are very unique and their server is so unique and has so many different things that nobody has ever seen them elsewhere. I might be led to believe that many people just want to keep an eye on it and try it out and see how the new things are going. The sixth question ties up with the player numbers, which is the faction balance and Horde versus Alliance count. I think this time around, on the newer Classic realms and the newer Classic Plus realms, more people have been drawn to the Horde than the Alliance than before, but on the PTR, and many people there have told me that they were thinking about a faction balance of 55 to 45 from the Alliance to the Horde, or in the most extreme cases 60 to 40. But I'm led to believe that might not be the case, because I've seen more and more people joining the Horde. I've mostly always played Horde on Wrath of the Lich King, but I've decided to try Alliance this time, and I think there's a very healthy balance. There are even potions of faction change, so that won't be a problem, because Ascension can also lock the faction change and make it just one way. Either way they can enforce faction balance, but there is also a few other things about the faction, which is this realm is cross-faction. You can be friendly and interact opposite faction members. Even if it is cross-faction, you can enable mercenary mode in PvP, and you can actually PvP against your own faction, but you can also be labeled as an outlaw, and then your own cities will be against you, the cities from your faction, which is a very unique and neat feature. If you kill players from the Alliance as an Alliance player, the Stormwind Guards will try to attack you, and you can also bring with yourself an outlaw pardon, which is a scroll that you buy with gold, and with that pardon you can be forgiven for your sins and you will be accepted back into the Alliance fold. For the content that we are doing, regardless if you are Alliance or Horde, you can explore all the PvE and PvP content without feeling that the faction that you chose would lock you in any way, shape or form. You could be the only single Alliance or single Horde player on the entire realm and still be able to experience everything that the game has to offer. You just level and visit the cities related to your faction. That's more of a cosmetic thing than anything else. On the seventh question, are there new mechanics on boss fights? There are new mechanics on boss fights, there are new mechanics on mobs, and some of the mechanics are more forgiving than others. The difficulty is a little bit floating up and down. Some things are a bit harder, other things that you will think that they were going to be a bit harder are a bit easier, depending on individual boss fights and individual mobs that you are dealing with. But there is also a new thing, which is the Nightmare mode, the Adventure mode. There is an NPC in the starting zone for the people who are starting and that want to do hardcore. You have all that. But there is Adventure mode where you turn every mob in the game scaled into an elite mob, and all the mobs that you see become elite mobs to you. And that of course provides quite the challenge, and even then you can select levels of difficulty. So on that NPC you can actually go from level 1 and up, and to level 5, level 10, and you keep increasing the difficulty of the mobs. There are challenges that are cumulatively difficult, so you can be in adventure mode, in nightmare mode, and hardcore mode, and Iron Man mode, all at the same time, and you just stack challenges on top of each other. And of course you also stack the rewards that you can receive. You'll be receiving tons of rewards from those challenges, and some of the craziest looking players that have the craziest looking transmogs are probably doing those challenges and getting the most cool looking vanity items as their merit showcase from finishing such talents, along with some titles and achievements as well. On top of all this, there is also a prestige system where you can just go back to level 1 after you reach max level, I will not advise to do this right away. From what I've learned from other people playing the PTR, you want to bide your time, and it's better late than never, but it's also better to do the prestige later than too early, because you need to get yourself ready so that when you go back to leveling you can do it more efficiently and better than the first time. This will allow you to reset every world forged item that you picked up, and all the new things that you discovered, you can discover them again. So if you want to find the Mystic Enchant Scroll that you've already spent, you can find that Mystic Enchant Scroll. You can also find the world forged items that you have picked up before, and many of them you ended up throwing away, selling as vendor trash, and now you miss some item that you wanted to upgrade. But you can always redo everything on the leveling experience as many times as you want. So you can really enjoy all the challenge modes and adventure modes by leveling up once, getting yourself ready, and then challenging yourself again on the leveling experience. To prestige, you find the NPC of Chromie and she will get you to prestige. You will gain some special currencies and some special rewards just available for the people who are doing prestige challenges and prestiging. For the 8th question, someone asked why I was playing a warrior night elf, and I was just messing around with a little bit of a meme, but at the same time the classes and also the racials are based on Wrath of the Lich King, even though some of the racials had some adjustments to balance them out a little bit. They are still very based on Wrath of the Lich King if you have any doubts about the racials. Now for the 9th question, and this is a little bit of a worrisome one. Someone is asking me if I know anything about Blizzard sending a cease and desist letter and how will Ascension react to that. And it's very hard for me. I'm not a wizard with a crystal ball to predict the future. But I can tell you that some servers in the private server scene have been outlasting the test of time, and they seem to have been lasting forever, and I'm pretty damn sure Blizzard is very well aware of them, because it just takes me one Google search where I ask which are the most famous private servers for World of Warcraft in the world, and these servers come up, and they are really the most famous ones, and they are the ones with the highest player counts and highest player rotations for the past 5 to 10 years. Some servers are that old and they are still very successful. It will be impossible for Blizzard to not notice them. The thing is, somehow some of them are able to slip through the cracks. Somehow some of them are able to find ways of being away from the jurisdiction that would lead them to close. And to me, they seem already part of the world that you live in. The same way that you expect the sun to rise up every day in the morning, I've always expected certain servers to be there with the Wrath of the Lich King experience since forever, because it has been 10 years there. I have characters with almost 10 years of playtime there, something like that, and it's kind of like at some point it's almost your life's work in World of Warcraft is in some servers. And sadly, unlike Blizzard, on Blizzard everything comes with an end. The expansions eventually move on to the next expansion. Every realm eventually closes or gets transfers. Your characters are in one part of the progression, or you have a best in slot character in one expansion. Eventually the world around you moves on and your character is not best in slot anymore. And it's quite sad. Every time you go back to log in Blizzard, you can spend 1, 2, 3 years without playing, and you go back and now everything is different. It feels like you've lost stuff. And I really love the private servers that are evergreen and that stand the test of time, because you can just play them for a bit, you can go about your life, and when you come back to that server, it's like you're coming back home. You always have your characters there, your progression is all there, your work and your collections and all your best in slot is still there, and if you want to relive those raids, those experience, there it is. A consistent experience. You have this consistency, and consistency is one of the best concepts and values that anyone can have in life. Is one of the best things, and I really love consistent things, and that's why some of these servers get most of my attention and most of my love compared to seasonal servers, which eventually things just end up. Many people feel that on seasonal servers their time gets wasted because one day they want to go back and relive those experiences and there is nothing there for them anymore, which is kinda sad. And so we try to make things last forever. Nothing lasts forever, but at least they try to make them last as long as they can last. And so I can count on Ascension for that. Thank you guys for watching my videos, and I hope I provided some more useful information for you. These were some random quick questions that appeared on my last videos and channel, and so I tried to reply to them. I hope some of you can enjoy the game tomorrow and that I was able to clear up some of your doubts. Thank you very much and see you next time.